Alright, we should be live. Hello, everybody. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time, like, preluding to what we're doing here today. I've been talking about this for a little bit, because this video came out, what's it been now? A week ago. And I just felt like it'd be a cool thing to stream my reaction to it and just, like, bring up some topics of discussion that could either be discussed live or after the fact in the YouTube video. I was just like, I don't know, I feel like this would be a cool topic to discuss for a more a current Pokken player to react to, just to see, you know, because this is from an outside perspective, because this YouTuber, from what I can see, is more so orientated to Smash, but they've delved into other game series before. So I thought, why not? Let's see what this person has to say. Spoiler alert, I have already watched the video already. This was a while ago when it first came out, but I did already watch it. So aside from like bits and pieces that I may have forgotten since then, I do for the most part know what's coming, but I still want to just, like, you know, give my thoughts. It's still going to mostly be like my raw thoughts of what they're presenting here, like my reactions to their points about the game or just characters that they you know, that they want to be put into the game. That's still going to be what's happening here. So whether it be live or after the fact on YouTube, I'd love to know what other people think when watching this video and what discussion points we bring up here today. But I'm just going to get into it because it's like a little less than a half hour, and I feel like we're probably going to be pausing this a lot to talk about a lot of different things as, you know, as we come across different points about Pokken itself and the characters they bring up. So let's get into it and make sure the volume's not too terrible here.
Can you give me an assist and subscribe if you haven't? I'm knocking on the door of 30K, so I'd appreciate the support.
I do like this guy's this presentation to his content, by the way. So I would suggest subscribing to him too. He's really cool.
With help from the Tekken devs, hence the name. Pokken Tournament entered the scene in 2015, a hybrid of 3D and 2D combat featuring a cast of mostly iconic characters. Despite releasing in arcades and on a dying system before finally getting a Switch port, it sold pretty well for a debut fighting game.
It really did.
You might be thinking, if Pokken is so good, why isn't there a Pokken 2? Yeah, good question. The director is up for it, and the audience is definitely there. So what?
2025, by the way. 2025, I feel like it's going to be our year. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like because it's been so long, I'm pretty sure this was like well over a year ago by now, that the head developer of one of the head developers of the first game has said that he would love to do it again. And I think that wasn't Hoshino, that was Harada. I think that was Harada that said that. And then Hoshino has been following the game like up until Pokken stopped being undone at Worlds. Hoshino followed Pokken everywhere, like the official Pokken circuit. I'm pretty sure he still went to 2023 Worlds, even though Pokken wasn't there. So he follows Pokemon around, and he followed Pokken, the official circuit of Pokken, until it was done. So he definitely, I'm sure, would love to do it again, and so would Harada. So both the head devs that are like more public figureheads, I'm sure there are more bigwig names behind the scenes that would love to do it too, but those two that give themselves more of a public presence, they would love to do it. And obviously the audience, it's just been ramping up in general. The conversation around Pokken 2, people want it. So I just feel like once the console generation finally cements itself, the new console generation cements itself, I feel like we have a really good shot.
Could a Pokken sequel look like? Let's do some theory crafting for the game and a potential roster of 35 characters.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Realistically big, but hey, aiming high makes for a more interesting video. We have a lot of ground to cover.
He does say that, at least, so he has that defense.
First things first, who's coming back? Pokken 1 eventually wrapped up with a roster of 23. Pretty good lineup, even if it lacked a couple types and leaned hard on Gens 1 and 4. Some turnover in fighting games that aren't Smash Brothers is normal though, so I wouldn't expect everyone to return. Basically, these 8 are getting benched.
Oh wait, let me back up a frame.
One to return. Basically, these 8 are...
Okay. So, you cut out Scizor. That's no bueno. But I mean, hold on a minute. Let me see. Darkrai Krogunk, Pikachu Libre. I didn't see that one before, or maybe I just didn't remember. Shadow Mewtwo. I just realized something. This is literally just... Oh, wait, no, Decidueye's there. Okay, aside from Decidueye, this is literally just everything Pokken DX brought is getting cut. I don't know if that was an accident or if that's just like just so happened to line up with this guy's personal opinions about the Pokemon, but I don't understand, like, in the general scheme of things, why he just decided to cut every single DX edition except for Decidueye. And if anything, I genuinely feel like if we're talking about like characters that could get replaced, not that Decidueye is not popular, people love Decidueye, but I genuinely feel like Incineroar would probably take Decidueye's spot as the Alolan starter on the list. Obviously, there are 2 Hoenn starters and 2 Kanto starters, so that's that line of thinking does not add up. But it's just like, I don't know how well. I mean, okay, now I'm just getting more into my personal opinion. I don't know personally if Decidueye would make it. I don't say that I wouldn't want him, but I would want every character to stay. But I don't know. I just feel like Decidueye doesn't have that high likelihood of staying. But anyway, let me back up a bit.
8 are getting benched, leaving us with 15 veterans anchoring our sequel roster and space for 20 newcomers to headline it. Just like in the first game, all of these characters will have different base HP values and one of a few battle styles. Standard is for well-rounded characters.
Wait, didn't he say something about that? Like, wait, hold on a minute. I think I was talking over him a little earlier.
Hard on gens 1 and 4.
Right there. Yeah, that's what I remember him saying.
1 and 4. Some turn.
So let me look at that real quick. So he said that the roster leaned way too hard into Gen 1 and Gen 4, but cuts out Scizor, the only one of 2 Gen 2 reps, cuts out Aegislash. Okay, Shadow Mewtwo, fine, whatever, if you still want to count. I don't even know if even Pikachu Libre and Shadow Mewtwo. Shadow Mewtwo is like the Pokken's only gimmick, so I don't know why he would count that as leaning into Gen 1. And also Pikachu Libre, I wouldn't count that either, because Pikachu Libre, again, is not a clone of Pikachu by any stretch of the imagination, and the idea of Pikachu Libre came out in Gen 6. So I personally wouldn't really count that as leaning into Gen 1. But, okay, yeah, he got rid of Darkrai, Croagunk, and Empoleon. But he kept Garchomp. He kept all of like the big Gen 1 reps. Like, he said it leaned too hard into Gen 1 and 4 and killed 3 different characters that weren't from Gen 1 and 4. And in 4, if you count Shadow Mewtwo. That's a bit more of a stretch, but it's like, his cuts seem weird. For one, again, it cuts literally everything out of DX except for Decidueye, and half of his cuts, or yeah, potentially half his cuts, are not even from Gen 1 and 4, so I don't get his reasoning behind those cuts. But anyway, back to what you're saying.
Gimmick, speed for those who emphasize movement and evasion over raw strength, and power for the opposite. Slower but stronger, and often packing knockback resistance on a few moves. I've added a 5th.
I assume what he means knockback resistance probably would translate to Pokken's kind of armor deal. Again, this guy comes from Smash, so he's probably gonna mishmash a bunch of Smash terminology with what Pokken would do. I assume what a Pokken player would think when thinking about knockback resistance probably means like red or blue armor, that kind of thing.
Style to the mix. Tricky for characters who lean heavily on mind games and deception to win. Yeah, we're going full Mario Tennis with these now. Veteran fighter Gengar has been reclassed to this new style. All others have kept what they already had.
That honestly makes sense.
Got all that?
Because Gengar just does not feel like the rest of the technicals. Gengar is like his own beast. So I would totally see Gengar being like reclassed in a sequel where he would be what he is. He would still stay what he is, but he would just be reclassed to more definitively describe what he is. Because he definitely does not feel like the rest of the technicals. So I totally agree with that.
Look at our first few newcomers. Yeah, I guess this one was obvious. I don't want to rely on popular picks, but bringing in what maybe
you kind of have to. It's Greninja.
In the entire series just makes sense. Moveset-wise, Smash Brothers is actually a good starting point for what Greninja can do. Forming ninja weaponry out of water, dipping into the shadows to evade and counterattack, utilizing high speed and very good jumps and air mobility, cause, you know, Frog, would fit the character and help stand out next to the ninja-like fighter we already have. Greninja would lack Sceptile's trapping moves and have less consistent frame data, but better damage output, focusing on raw movement and mix-ups to ambush foes and claim victory.
Okay, so again, as a Pokken player, that kind of confuses me. I'm sure he was kind of leaning more towards what I don't know if he was like going more from Smash and those characteristics he was talking about, like, oh, Greninja would have better jumping ability and more, what do you say, better jumping ability and more damage compared to Sceptile. Which, okay, yeah, Sceptile's individual hits don't do that much damage outside of things like, I don't know, Raw Leaf Storm. But I mean, Sceptile already has amazing jumps. Like, one of Sceptile's main gimmicks is that he essentially has a jump cancel out of in his specials, because the Leech Seed prep is basically just a jump cancel that you can cancel into other air moves besides just Bullet Seed. So it's just, I don't know, like saying Greninja should have better jumps than Sceptile. That seems in terms of Pokken players who already, because we already think Sceptile is absolutely amazing in the aerial department. I don't know, giving Greninja better jumps than Sceptile is kind of ridiculous, honestly.
Character and helps stand out next to the ninja-like fight.
You said better jumps and what, better damage?
Greninja would lack Sceptile's trapping moves and have less consistent frame data, but better damage.
And also less consistent frame data. Like, so Sceptile, for the most part, is pretty solid in frame data, but he already does have a couple fraudulent areas in the frame data department. It's just like, I don't know. The reason why Sceptile, one of the reasons, it's not just the only reason, but one of the main reasons Sceptile is so good with his frame data is that he can catch you from so many different ways. He can catch you in so many different ways from so many different spots. He's got Giga Drain, which can be put at various angles. He's got a big horizontal DP and Leaf Blade that can catch big buttons. He's got that JY that can be angled in different ways, and because it's so long, in the different angles it can be shot at, it can catch you from so many different in so many different ways, both on the ground and in the air. He's got the freaking 5X, the backhand where the hitbox comes out like 5 feet past his actual hand. Like, he's got really good range already. So it's just, but I don't know. I feel like going by just his description of Greninja here, it feels like it's tugging at the extremes that Sceptile already has. Like, less consistent frame data, but more damage and more movement too. He said more movement. Sceptile already has amazing movement. Dash canceling out of Giga Drain, dash canceling out of his jab, dash canceling out of his 5X. He's got Detect, which just turns into him swinging over you and crossing you up. So like if he's behind if he's at the wall and he lands a Detect, he just swings over you and now you're at the wall and he can start a combo whatever he wants. But it's just like, I don't know if Greninja would go exactly like this. It would make sense for Greninja to be all about movement and high DPS if there's any popular Pokemon. Also, hey Mars, hope you're having a good day. Thank you for coming by. But if Greninja were to be if Greninja would be the one popular character pick that they would make broken. So it's not like they would never do this, but I don't know, the way he makes it sound in comparison to the Sceptile that we Pokken players know, it's like an even more extreme Sceptile and people are already kind of like iffy on Sceptile. So I don't know how this would work, but definitely would probably be high tier by the way he's describing it. So we have to see, but yeah, Greninja would be in for 100% certainty.
Consistent frame data, but better damage output, focusing on raw movement and mix-ups to ambush foes and
like how fast does he want Greninja to be?
It felt like a glaring omission from Pokken 1, and not just due to being outright planned at one point, but dropped for unknown reasons.
I want to find an article about this. Is there like an article that talks about Absol and Pokken? Because I want to know. I've legit never heard of this since I watched this video, or before I watched this video. I've never heard of this before. So, where did this thing... Oh, wait, hold on. Let me move my other tabs here. But yeah, I want to know, was Absol actually planned for Pokken? Was it like code in the original Wii U version? Or was there concept art or something? Because I've never heard of Absol being planned for Pokken and then being cut. I've never heard of that before. But, I mean, I think it would work, and he has a nice description of it here, I
I
think.
envision Absol using powerful claw and blade attacks and supplementing them with something unique. A special where you foresee one of 4 natural disasters based on Pokemon's 4 weather types that then happen a couple seconds later. Imagine a sudden deluge of rain that pins your foe down, or a spiraling cyclone of sand that grabs and flings them upward, or a burst attack, the game's supers basically, that drags your foe into a vision of the sun going supernova eons from now, then strands them there. Might all be in their head, but their bodies won't know the difference.
I love the idea of that of that burst attack. That sounds like an awesome idea. Okay, but now his idea of like Absol like foreseeing natural disasters, I like the concept, but the way he described it made it sound like he just took Pokken moves that already exist and put them into Absol, because he described Sandstorm the exact same way that Sand Tomb works. A swirling thing of sand that flings your opponent upward, that's literally just Sand Tomb. And then the deluge of rain holding your opponent down, that's Water Spout. Well, kind of. It comes crashing down on your opponent. Yeah, it launches them afterwards for Blastoise, but it's basically the same thing. So I don't think it would be implemented exactly like that, but I like that idea because I would want something like Absol to be more than just a fast Suicune. I would want more quadrupeds. Being another quadruped in Pokken would be sick. I think that would be an awesome idea. But put that full screen. But yeah, I think Absol would need a bit more unique of a gimmick like that, and having it based on its whole thing about foreseeing the future, kind of foreseeing natural disasters. That would be sick, but I don't know if it would work exactly like that. Maybe, it couldn't be like, I don't know, because not many Pokemon in Pokken already like work on RNG. As soon as you throw RNG into a character, I don't know, I feel like it would kind of ruin it. I don't know if that would be something you could control or not. I like the idea. It's just the way he described it just made it sound like he put 4 already established Pokken moves into this whole mechanic and gave it to Absol. So I feel like you would want to differentiate that a little bit more, but I like the idea. I really do. Just having something more than just being a fast quadruped is something Absol should definitely have.
A popular one who wasn't brought up much in Pokken speculation. With Scizor bowing out, there's room for another Gen 2 bug. And this one's got interesting...
Reminder, he cut out a Gen 2 rep when he said this game leaned on Gen 1 and 4. But a Gen 2 rep had to be cut. Okay.
Stuff to work
with.
And by that I mean we can make Heracross a grappler. Imagine
I totally agree with this.
Charge forward, horn first,
to a T. Heracross would 1000% be a grappler.
Counter that tanks an enemy hit, scoops them up with the horn, and gives them the old heave-ho. Mix in a regular grab and enough other moves, and there you go. Actually, Kirby's Beetle ability shows off the moveset potential here.
This is so based. I love that he uses Kirby for, like, trying to define a moveset for Heracross, because Kirby low-key in some of the Kirby games just has a whole fighting game movesets for some of his powers. Not all of them, but some of them do. Like, Triple Deluxe, for anyone who remembers Triple Deluxe on 3DS, some of those copy abilities had whole-ass fighting game movesets in them. I don't remember if Beetle was necessarily one of those, but it makes sense. Like, this kind of thing that Kirby does, where he picks him up, scoops him up, shoots him down, does like a whole straight drop down with the horn, those kinds of moves totally make sense for Heracross. So I would totally see that. But now, here's the problem. I think, does he bring this up anymore? I don't think he does. Yeah, it just goes in the next one after this. Here's the problem. The problem is Mega Heracross. Because I'm just assuming at this point that Pokken 2, if it were to return, would bring back Megas. Any new fighter that had a Mega, that would be their burst mechanic. When they go into burst mode, they would Mega Evolve. Here's the problem with that. Mega Heracross is very, very weird. I don't know how else to describe it. Mega Heracross is very weird. I feel like if you were to make Heracross, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I feel like Heracross would be another Gengar situation, where it just turn into a whole different beast when it goes into burst mode. Even in the mainline games, Heracross just turns into a completely different Pokemon when it Mega Evolves. It gets Skill Link, now relies on Pin Missile rather than Mega Horn, and it's a totally different play style. And I feel like the same thing would happen in Pokken. So he doesn't talk about Mega Heracross at all, but I feel like you couldn't just give the same kit to Mega Heracross. It wouldn't make sense because just its body shape is so different. It's like stubby. It's got those giant arms. Its horn is now arched forward rather than arched like a shovel. It's like now arching upward and forward rather than like curved up. I don't know. I don't know if that same kind of moveset would make sense for both regular and Mega Heracross is the issue. But you know what would? Another bug type that was seen as this thing's rival for a long time? Pinsir. I feel like Pinsir would make a better bug type grappler. Personally speaking, I think Heracross is still a great pick. Nothing against Heracross, but in terms of a bug type grappler like he's talking about, I would think Pinsir does it better because Pinsir's whole thing with its giant freaking pincer on its head makes sense for being a grappler. No, it wouldn't be like Heracross where it like stabs people with a horn and like does like heave hose on him, but it probably wouldn't be like a counter grappler. But then, what am I trying to say? Mega Pinsir would feel like a more natural. I'm trying to say more natural fit for an install of a fighting game character, because then you would gain the ability to fly. Like imagine like the Pinsir's whole thing would be like it's super duper slow. Its damage is middling. There are only like very few setups where Pinsir would get any damage in. But then Mega Pinsir would just make it do more damage, but also give you the mobility that regular Pinsir would lack, where regular Pinsir would have so many dead zones where it could get, I don't know, there would be like instances where it can get crossed up for free, or I don't know, just like certain space, it's just certain space in neutral where it can get zoned a lot and it has hard time getting in. Mega Pinsir would be about getting rid of those mobility weaknesses and being able to catch people in the air easier, being able to approach easier, just all of the mobility issues that regular Pinsir would have. That would be a sick idea for a grappler. But if we want to make Heracross a grappler, giving it a Mega Evolution just straight up wouldn't make sense, because Mega Heracross literally does not fit the grappling motif at all. How would it grab? Because its arms, like it has like, you know, usual like beetle-like arms in its regular form, but then its Mega form, it just gains these freaking hulking, I don't know, muscle. It just is nothing but wrist. It's nothing but wrist right here, and then these itty bitty little spikes for fingers. How would it grapple with these? And then its horn is shaped weird, and then I don't know. Mega Heracross just screws this whole plan up, and that's probably why he didn't talk about it. But I don't know. I had a lot to say about this one, but and again, I have nothing against Heracross, but I feel like Pinsir would fit this idea of a bug-type grappler better than Heracross. I just think so.
Up and more. Wait a second, a middle stager? Getting one in the first game opens the opportunity for another. And Duat is among
Yo, shout out to Sour Breaks, by the way. He would do backflips if Duat were in Pokken. He would probably low-key become a pro if both Duat and Breakson were in the game. He would do backflips.
No particular standout stats, but with steady, reliable tools, surprising range on certain moves, and a pinch of hard work and determination, we have a fighter who could punch well above their weight. Has a very Bandana D type of lovable underdog energy that make for a fan favorite, if designed right. Here's where we sit so far.
Okay, I don't have too much to say about Duat other than, okay, not that it couldn't happen, but here's the thing about the breaks in comparison. Breakson made sense not just because it was popular, but because it had a very unique motif it could build off of that was like in canon material. Because like Breakson, like especially in the anime, kind of already had that that magician vibe, the whole idol, the pop idol vibe going on with Breakson. That was already kind of there. It was already established. But Duat doesn't really have that. I'm not saying you couldn't like develop a new kind of personality for Duat, but it's just the question: what would it be like? What kind of gimmick would it serve? Because to me, I mean, It's not that Duat couldn't be in, but I feel like he just threw in Duat for the sake of having something that would fit Breakson's role. Despite Breakson already being here, he kept Breakson in. So, I don't know. There's just not enough here for me to think Duat is worth it, other than the fact that it's a popular stage 1, and because Breakson got in, that means Duat would be allowed. But he doesn't give us enough to kind of think as to what Duat would do, other than that, okay, he's a dual wielder. Cool, but he's got to have some kind of gimmick past that, I feel. I don't think he would just be like a... I don't feel like Duat is the kind of character that would be a basic class character like a Lucario or a Pikachu that would be like a... Or maybe it could, I don't know. He did label it as standard, so... It's possible. Actually, speaking of that, here, can I... Let me move my live reaction thing in case... Because he lists the HP and the class in that corner, I just realized. Let me move this. Move this whole thing. There we go. Nothing's in that corner, I believe. But I mean, again, yeah, because Mars is right. Like, Sour Breaks would go absolutely insane if both Breakson and Duat were in the game. It would be brought in specifically for him. That would be his main.
But we have a lot more to fill in. We're just getting started. Time for a short topic shift. Helps keep things fresh. What could Pokken 2 look like mechanics-wise? Some people take issue with the dual phases or how RPS-heavy the gameplay is, but honestly, I think those are a big part of the game's identity, especially when Pokemon's types are built on a giant web of RPS. Instead, I'd focus on quality-of-life improvements to patch up the rough spots. Cleaner UI, smoother gameplay with a slightly faster pace, and more. One change I'd definitely make...
Okay, before he goes into this next point, so I'm glad that he recognizes that for one, like, especially because there are not a lot of people in the Smash community that see like this guy, where he respects Pokken's identity. So he respects Pokken's identity. That you have to give him that, because not a lot of people do, honestly. Like, even with people who are like, oh yeah, I love Pokken, bro. I just wish it were like Street Fighter, where it's like it's only 2D and all that shit. That's what you hear all the time, right? Not a lot of people say it like this. Not a lot of people bring it up like this. But the way he talks about the art, he doesn't see this as a downside. This isn't him. But it's just like the whole thing with RPS. I'm just gonna quickly say, like, RPS. So okay, Pokken RPS is more in your face. It's one of the first things they talk about. The whole counter beats grabs. Grabs beat no. Why did I say that? Grabs beat counters. Counters beat attacks. Attacks beat grabs. That whole thing. You have to... That's like one of the first things they teach you. So it's more in your face. And getting critical hits is a much bigger deal in this game. And it's a huge deal when you get a critical hit, because it just adds to the damage you get in your combo or just your singular hit or whatever. So, yeah, it's more in your face, but it's like... RPS is a part of fighting games. Guessing on wake up and stuff like that is a thing with fighting games. So the whole thing about arguing like Pokken's RPS is a fundamental flaw is just mind-boggling to me, because of how fighting games just work. Like, if you're saying Pokken's RPS is a fundamental flaw of the game, I don't know what kind of fighting games you played that aren't like that, or don't have that element, at least in some fashion. I don't know. If it's just the fact that it's in your face, sure, but it's going to be in a lot of fighting games that you play. That's what I'm saying. But, yeah, the whole thing about, respecting the identity of Pokken, and especially the dual shifts, I already like this guy a lot, because he may not care for the game himself or not play it himself, but he respects the identity of Pokken. I like that.
More transparency for when a shift from dual phase to field is going to happen. In Pokken 1, each move in dual phase has a certain number of phase shift points that apply on hit. Once enough points have built up on one of the fighters, a shift happens. What I would do is just add an on-screen meter that indicates these shift points and shows how close either side is to activating a shift. That's a lot of shifting. Additional visual aid that helps out players and spectators without shifting their attention away. Okay, I'm done.
He's right, though. Like, that's a perfectly reasonable request to make, because I highly doubt anybody from outside of the community that already know about these inner workings. I guarantee you none of them know, like, when a shift's gonna happen. they just see it as they'll probably just see it as a random event, if anything, or like they'll see, if anything, they'll think certain moves always shift no matter what, or something like that. But yeah, like if you're not in the community, you won't know this. So having that visual aid not only helps beginner players understand what a shift, when a shift will happen, but it helps viewers. So that's a perfectly reasonable request to make. I feel like other players have probably made that request too. So yeah, having an on-screen meter of some kind to determine a phase shift, you wouldn't probably have to do that for both. Well, yeah, you kind of do. Pokken already has a lot on screen though, so I wonder how they would balance that out. You got the burst meter, you got the support meter, you got health. I wonder how they would implement it. But it definitely is something they should do. It just helps viewers and players alike.
Alright, let's see more newcomers. Here's a standout who missed the boat for a different fighting game. Smash Ultimate might have skipped Gen 8, but Pokken 2 wouldn't be limited to whichever generation is newest. Why does Cinderace have a technical style despite a Greninja-like stat line? Tapping into the footballer motif, neutral special Pyro Ball would generate a fireball you can move around with you and kick at different trajectories with different attacks.
I really like this. Like, I don't have any personal bias towards Cinderace, but this is a great idea for Cinderace. It makes it different than Greninja, because it's literally the exact same thing as Greninja in the mainline games. Oh, my throat's so dry. But here, making it like a technical style character where it's like always about managing its main resource and how it can combo into its fireball with various attacks as it's juggling it, that is such a good idea. This is like one of his best ideas. I would think Cinderace would totally make sense for a technical character that is focusing around like using this one specific resource to implement in, like, you can bounce the opponent back and forth from the ball and Cinderace at some points, or like keep on kicking it at the opponent multiple times over to establish shield pressure offensively, or use it defensively to anti-air somebody or somebody. Just like focusing all around the Pyro Ball in such a technical way, I think makes total sense for this character. There isn't much else to say about this one. I just really like this idea.
Add extra options for offense and defense if you're skilled enough. And like several Gen 8 mons, this one has a built-in burst attack, projecting out a Gigantamax form, generating a colossal
Just all, if there's
fireball,
any
and kicking it
a
square
G-Max
at the opponent
Pokemon,
for a
just
fiery
make that their burst
explosion.
attack easy.
Why does going G-Max work here outside of Galar? Good question. Is anyone surprised by this one? No? Didn't.
I like how he just asked the question and just left it. Like, good question. Anyway, yeah,
Just like
I mean,
Greninja,
I don't know what they would do to explain the lore about that, but that's just funny.
in the camp of too popular and too much moveset potential not to include. Even compared
Basically.
to Pokken's current grass types, the floral explosions and crafty illusions cover motifs they don't. This is our first tricky style newcomer, encouraging players to step into the role of a magician. Meowscarada's moveset,
Yep.
just like the Smash one I made last year, would be all about misdirecting opponents, leaving them wide open to your high-damaging traps and setups. Could even tap into Paldea's signature mechanic when in burst mode. Any gen...
Okay, a couple things about that, or a couple things about this. So, I didn't say this before with Absol, or whatever, if he did it before for any other mon that I don't remember. They will totally, I feel like there's a high likelihood that for Pokemon that are already in Pokemon Unite, they will definitely take inspiration for that for some of their moves, or just like the overall gimmick that they do. So within this video already, he's already done it a few times where he throws in things related to abilities. I don't know if Pokken 2 will throw in abilities. Maybe it could, but I don't know. I feel like they will definitely take some inspiration from Unite in terms of abilities, stats, just overall move stats. There's not too many moves in Unite, but it gives them a form of, like, an outline of the play style they could do. And Meowscarada is definitely one of them, because in Unite, Meowscarada could be seen as a quote-unquote tricky character. That's all about misdirecting with Double Team, or like one of their most popular things to do with their ultimate is use eject button. So it's like they're slowly moving forward in one area, but you can use eject button while the ult is active and just immediately move the other way and trick them into walking the other way. Just misdirections like that, Meowscarada would totally take from Unite for a couple moves. Maybe even take its ult in some fashion for some sort of field phase move. I don't know. But that would be really cool to see that come full circle, because almost every character that was in Pokken prior to being in Unite took animations from Pokken, directly from Pokken. Not just like in terms of, oh, it's a character from Pokken that has like the same kind of mentality or character arc, or not character arc, but like, I don't know, overall feel of a character, like they're being a brute or a technician or something like that. But if they took moves and animations from Unite and brought that over to the Pokken sequel, that would be kind of funny considering how Unite did the opposite.
Good. Terastallizing would grant a damage boost and...
Oh, and also Terastallizing. Okay. So... I don't know how many times he brings that up, or like he brought up G-Maxes as well, but... I don't think it would be like an actual mechanic of the fighter. If anything, the other battle mechanics, like Dynamaxing and... well, not Mega Evolution, but Dynamaxing and Terastallizing and even Z moves, I feel like those would just be saved for burst attacks probably. Because Pokken is, well, again, I don't have any sort of pattern to establish other than one game, that being the original Pokken. But assuming they keep it more unified and just say, okay, burst modes are Mega Evolutions, and if you don't have a Mega, you just have like a kind of, I don't know, a visually powered up version of the same Pokemon. Maybe they could make that a burst mode. I guess they could, but I don't know. I feel like that would just be saved for a burst attack, honestly. I don't know if they would make Terastallizing and Z moves and Dynamaxing part of burst modes. I don't think they would do that.
Other enhancements to their grass type moves, including a grand finale of a burst attack. If you're a regular here, you saw this coming.
Okay, I've seen this around so many times, but at least it's Dusk Lycanroc. Like, at least they tried to make another quadruped work. Like, literally every time I see Lycanroc, it's the Midnight form. It's like, why? It's just because it's on two legs. The quadrupeds could work. At least he does Dusk here.
Rallied around this character in the past, and while that didn't pan out for Ultimate, Pokken has a wide open niche for what has become one of the most iconic rock types. While Garchomp taps...
Just personally speaking here on that little statement, I just find it funny that Pokken, or like not Pokken, Pokemon Company in general really wanted to push Lycanroc to be the next Greninja, and nothing happened with it. Like, it got a somewhat cool new Dusk form, and that was about it. And nothing else really happened, and it didn't really catch on the same way things like Greninja or Meowscarada did. I don't know, like, they're starters, obviously, but yeah, Lycanroc didn't catch on that much.
Into some Earth-based stuff, there's a lot more we can dig up. Rock Throw is an unwieldy projectile, powerful stone-edged stalagmites, rocketing forward using Accelerock, even embedding stealth rocks into the stage that pop up when your opponent gets close. But
that'd be a cool field phase move.
Because of what the form could do in burst mode, a berserk state inspired by the anime that make your attacks faster and safer, shifting playstyles for a while from bait and punish to hard pressure rushdown. Add the signature Z move, tailor-made for a burst attack, and you have a
I get it, but like, I don't feel like you should be focusing a burst attack on changing playstyles this much. Excuse me. Unless there's a really good reason for it. Like with Mega Gengar, his entire body shape changes, and his behavior just in general is different than regular Gengar, so it makes sense for the whole character to change, but just giving it a whole different playstyle just for a Berserker state, I probably wouldn't go that far. But again, I like that he focuses on the quadruped. Quadruped Lycanroc could totally work. It doesn't have to be Midnight form.
Standout fighter. Checking in again, and okay, those three were pretty safe picks. But we got them out of the way, so expect a few deeper cuts going forward. Another way Pokken 2 could expand on the original, gameplay modes. Of course the sequel would have more ways to play, especially when the first game kinda didn't have many. One that'd definitely be worth adding, a traditional arcade mode. Pick a character,
Yeah.
face a sequence of fighters, conclude with a boss at the end. Kinda weird that the console versions didn't bring this over in hindsight. Would be
Well, they had the Shadow Mewtwo boss, which was like a boss character. Because boss Shadow Mewtwo has moves that don't exist in his regular kit. It wasn't just a fight against Shadow Mewtwo. It was like, what did he have? He had like freaking Suicune's Blizzard. He had, what else did he have? He had like a couple moves borrowed from other characters. He had Suicune's Blizzard, I know. Did he have like regular Mewtwo's Hyper Beam, I think? I don't know, I have to look it up. I haven't played the actual Shadow Mewtwo boss in a long time, but all I know is he takes moves from other fighters. Is actually like a boss character. With like quadruple the amount of health, no doubt. So, it was there, just not as an arcade mode. But that should definitely be a thing.
faster pace compared to the main story mode, even if that was less grindy than the first games, and if players got scored on how well they did, it'd even have replay value. On the casual side, maybe a gimmicky alt mode where instead of summoning support Pokemon, various items from the mainline games spawn in during field phase, and you can use them instead. It wouldn't fit into competitive play whatsoever, but it could be fun to mess around in as a change of pace.
I'd like to see how they do that. There's like, excuse me. That cold I just got over is still like lingering in here. Like I feel fine, but I don't know. I have a cough drop here just in case it gets bad, but it's just like it's just been lingering in my throat, just like always in the back of my head for a long time now. So gotta get that out of me at some point. But anyway, I think the casual mode would definitely fit. I don't know how much effort they should really put into it, but it would definitely be something. I think they should focus on having a new arcade mode though. That should definitely be a thing, because the only single player campaign being this really long and grindy tournament session, nah, there's gotta be something shorter than that.
Now, let's get back on pace with more newcomers. Kicking off round 3 is another who felt weirdly absent from the first game.
This is such a base pick, by the way. This is one of his best ideas as well. Everyone wants, like, what am I trying to think of? Everyone wants, like, I don't know. Oh yeah, they talk about sock and throw just because they're in the background of one of the first Pokken stages. Like, oh, why are they in there? Dude, they're freaking humans. Like, why would we want to focus on, like, sock and throw or the Hitmons? They're just humans. This is unique. This is something new. Like, make fighting type Pokemon like this. Make these the kinds of fighters you want to focus on. This is something actually unique that focuses on more specific kinds of martial arts. Why would we want to talk about freaking Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee? You just want a freaking Pokemon-shaped boxer? Or a kickboxer? You just want sock and throw? You just want humanoid fighters and Pokken? No! Do stuff like this. This makes sense.
Pokken still lacks an agile fighting type, and Mean Xiao combines that with martial arts and, of all things, long sleeve-like fur extensions that can be swung like whips.
Yes.
Jointed strikes using
I like
sleeves
these
help
unique
open foes
concepts.
up and force approaches, but the real threat is using them to create openings for direct attacks, leading to impressively lengthy combos. We could even
I would
use
love
Mean Xiao's
this.
regenerator ability to let you heal extra upon forcing a phase shift, even if you didn't have any regular recoverable health.
Not that, though. When I first heard this, I audibly laughed immediately because that would not be allowed. That would literally not be allowed. That is so stupid. That would be so broken in Pokken. Like, if this thing... Okay, so the way this guy is talking about it is that Mean Xiao would be all about its really good advantage state, right? So, if you're talking about a character... excuse me. If you're talking about a character that has really good advantage state and can initiate a lot of phase shifts and then has ability that says, hey, no matter what, if you have some health that can be recovered, you will get a section of that health back for every field phase shift. That would be stupid. That would be so stupid. Even if it was just something like 30 or 40 per shift, that would still be ridiculous because I would assume with a character like this, they're not going to be really high damaging in most areas. They're going to be like all about super long combos that don't do a lot of damage. So you're going to be shifting a lot. Even with 540 health, like it says there. I can't speak. Even with 540 health, that would be stupid. You would be just initiating a shift over and over and over again and just healing a bunch. It completely removes the threat of chip damage. It completely removes the fact of, like, gray health management, because it wouldn't even matter then. You just get your gray health, and then on top of that, an extra 30 or 40 or even, like, I don't know, even 20. Well, then it would just be so minuscule that it wouldn't even be, like, a real thing of the character. Because that's the thing with this. It's either too minuscule to matter, or it would be broken. I don't think there would be any in between with this ability. This would be so broken. It could not do this. It would not be able to do this and it be balanced. It would not. You could not do this in Pokken. Just say, oh, by the way, no matter if you have gray health or not, you just get to heal on every shift. That would be stupid. Do not do this.
Add in the powerful yet risky high jump kick that deals recoil damage if it whiffs, and you have an extra game of health management going on.
Blaziken does not give a shit. Like, there is no extra bit of health management going on. Blaziken will use EX high jump kick and just be like, it doesn't matter. What up, Blake? Did I miss any of my favorite mons? We've actually gone through quite a bit of it already. We've gone through some general topics already and some more Pokken characters. We're just going over a theory craft video of potential newcomers. But yeah, we're just going over this right now because here's how he says it. He says Regenerator and Pokken should, like, if you initiate a field phase shift, you should get some healing no matter what, even if you don't have great health. And I'm here to tell you right now, no one would like that. That would be the most broken shit ever, even if it was just like 30 or 40 health per shift. If you were able to heal off of every phase shift, regardless of gray health, that would be broken. Even with 540 health, that would be stupid. That you cannot do that. That would be illegal.
Recoverable health. Add in the powerful yet risky high jump kick that deals.
And having a high jump kick move that does recoil if it misses does not matter. That would not matter at all.
And you have an extra game of health management going on.
It would have to have significantly more punishment to make that an actual tug of war. Because if we're talking like Blaziken high jump kick, it would not matter.
Now for an unassuming fairy type who caught on with the fans, despite not being officially revealed until after Scarlet and Violet were out. Tinkaton packs a punch belying that
makes sense.
stature, even without any Corviknights to go all Monster Hunter on. The big hammer's as painful as it looks, and the gremlin wielding it would be annoyingly hard to hit, though the hammer being so unwieldy would make for some of
Well, that depends on whether or not the hammer would be part of Tinkaton's hitbox, so he's making it sound like it wouldn't be, so I don't know.
slowest frame data in the game.
Well, if it has the slowest frame data in the game, how hard really is it to hit? And also you have to think about how Pokken would scale these Pokemon. Because they are not one-to-one with what they are, even in the mainline games. I know Pokken heights and stuff are like all over the freaking place. But even with how weird they are in the mainline games in the anime, Pokken will scale fighters differently if, like, okay, we want to put this Pokemon in, but in order to make it sense in the context of a fighting game, we have to scale it up or down a little bit. They will do that. They've done it before. So if you're saying Tinkaton is a huge heavy hitter with slow frame data, how hard is it going to be to hit, really?
Using the hammer creatively would be key. Batting a rock into the air to strike down jumping opponents, using quick disruptive moves that deal little damage but stagger your foe, or a burst attack where Tinkaton quickly modifies the hammer to be even bigger and swings for the fences. There's a deep...
Yeah, Blastoise, that's one of the easiest examples, because of if Blastoise had arms like this the entire time, how would it grab anybody with literally no arms, just hands coming out of its central body? I don't know. Tinkaton would probably be altered a tad in order to work in a fighting game, but it could work. I think it could work.
Cut? This normal type is far from...
Someone on Twitter told me about Smeargle, and I think Smeargle would be cool. And, okay, so I had a Twitter post a little while ago talking about, you know, what characters people want in Pokken. And first, someone said Sudowoodo. And someone said Sudowoodo would be like that kind of copycat trope, where it would copy moves of different fighters, because one of its main gimmicks is Mimic, right? So I thought, okay, that makes sense. You can make Sudowoodo a copycat character. But then I saw Smeargle, and I'm like, that's even better, because it literally just has Sketch. You just sketch a special, and that'd be part of your moveset for the rest of the game. A copycat Smeargle would go so hard. Yeah, you just sketch a special, and you would just be able to use that against your opponent. That'd be so dope.
Normal, with an underwhelming stat line, but a moveset that's anything but. Pokemon's resident Blue Mage could attack using...
I'll be right back. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, because I've been drinking this entire time. I already have to go to the bathroom, but yeah, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. But yeah, Smeargle would totally work. But now here's the thing. I don't think Smeargle would just, like, get the same animations, per se. Like, oh, it would just, like... Because the thought process that I thought was, oh, you're up against a Blaziken. I can sketch your blaze kicks, and all of a sudden Smeargle's gonna start kicking all over the place. I don't think it's gonna do that. So this is kind of wonky in the perspective of a fighting game, but I feel like what would happen is Smeargle would just super quickly sketch the outline of a model of Blaziken, and then just send that out to do the move. I don't think Smeargle would just all of a sudden become a martial arts master as soon as it copies the right move. I feel like it would just make a painted outline of a model and then just make that the move. That would probably be how it works for the moves it copies. It'd probably have its own moves, but in the context of the moves that it copies, it would probably just paint them. Like, paint an outline of the animation and send that out to hit somebody. That would be how I see it. Like a summoner. Yeah, that would make sense. He's summons the outline. Just rises up from the ground. We're doing epic Mickey shit where he just rises shit out of the ground. He just paints it on the ground. It rises up into an animation and then just sends it out to hit somebody. That would be how it works. And that would be awesome, because having a copycat character in Pokken would be sick, I think. If you... Okay, it could potentially be pretty stupid, but I don't know. I would want to give it a shot. I think Smeargle would work.
That form into painted versions of other fighters' attacks, combining the best parts of other movesets, even if you...
I'm not sure a puppet character would work in Pokken, so this would be the next best thing. I don't know, man. I feel like a puppet character could work. It depends on what the Pokemon is. Because there are a lot of Pokemon that could be puppet characters. But I think a puppet character could work, probably. It would just be different depending on the phase. So one that he doesn't talk about here is Phalanx. I think Phalanx would be a sick-ass fighter in this game. That would definitely be a puppeteer character, because another thing you could do, in field phase, how puppeteering would work is you would send out all the little troopers. You could send them out all in different directions. So the whole purpose of it would be to swarm your opponent. from all the different angles. And then you just be like, in dual phase, it would be about they can stack on top of each other and attack from various heights. So you could be like, shoot one out because this would be like using the lane system a lot. So one would attack as a high attack, one would attack as a mid-high, one could attack as a mid-low, and so on and so forth. So depending on the Pokemon, puppeteers could work, but they have to work around their unique quirks and their unique gimmicks for a puppeteer character to truly be utilized. But I think Phalanx would be a cool puppeteer character. He doesn't talk about it here, but I would want that to be a cool concept.
Cut characters would let Smeargle pull off combos and setups that'd never be possible otherwise.
He brings up using cut characters, and I'm just like, okay, why would you keep the animations for characters that you cut, assuming you never bring them back? I don't get that. Like, just bring them back. If you have the animations for fighters that you cut and don't bring them in, I don't get what his point is with that. Just bring the characters back.
Could even use the move that gives the species its near.
Yeah, right here. He used Sketch. Then you Epic Mickey style rise that shit out of the ground, and then it would hit somebody. That would totally be his gimmick.
It means to add one more potentially OP color to their palette.
Yeah, I already dig that a lot. I think Smeargle would be awesome, dude. Pokken seems like too slow of a game for field would be too awkward. If the puppeteer character had a means to use projectiles or just like send small hitboxes out fast enough, I feel like it could still work. Yeah, I feel like Phalanx would still work in that concept. You could shoot a little guy out, just be like, throw one of the little guys. Like, they make a tower. They make a catapult out of themselves. And just, no, they lion ladder themselves. They lion ladder themselves. And then one would be like, they catapult themselves. Like, imagine Tom and Jerry-esque shit, where they stack on top of each other, they bend backwards, and then the very top one would get flung at the opponent in field phase. That kind of stuff I would love to see, because with Phalanx, it works. They've already done it in Unite, because Phalanx is such a cartoonish character in Pokemon Unite already that it would totally work. It would be like a formation. It would be a tower formation. And when they're stacked on top of each other, one of their big moves would be how they could just fling each body at the opponent one at a time and just shorten the tower. And the shorter the tower is, the main tower would deal less damage the smaller the tower is, but in compensation, you get to fling a bunch of really fast, hard-hitting projectiles at the opponent. So it's a matter of managing each individual body of the Phalanx. That would be so cool. I would love that so much. Okay, he brings up an Ultra Beast here. I don't mind Pheromosa. Literally, almost all the Ultra Beasts could be fighters. Though, personally, I would not do Pheromosa. I would do Kartana, personally. I think Kartana would be sick. Balling May, how you doing? Thank you for coming by. We're reacting to a Theorycraft video about Pokken 2 and just adding our own stuff to it. We're just having fun with a video here today. But thank you for coming by. Yeah, I think Pheromosa's fine, but I totally wouldn't do something like Kartana over Pheromosa any day of the week.
An Ultra Beast enters the ring. Wanted to include one of Gen 7's weird interdimensional beings, and this one's the glassiest of glass cannons. Pheromosa relies on incredible speed, the fastest of anyone on the roster, to throw off opponents, misdirecting them enough to sneak in attacks and put those strong mixed defenses to work. With a variety of kicks and burst.
Okay, but why is it called tricky though? If its biggest boon is its speed, why is it called tricky?
But Pheromosa has to rely on mind gaming opponents with a tall hurt box.
Just because it relies on like mind games doesn't mean it probably has to be tricky.
Making even a small mistake could cost you the round right then and there. Roster's beginning to.
Also, I'm surprised they didn't bring this up. You know what would be a cool mechanic for any Ultra Beast is if they implement the ability Beast Boost. So imagine. So here's this is just me bullshitting. Imagine the whole gimmick of Beast Boost would be if you got a certain amount of hits, or like what would be more fair? A certain amount of hits or a certain amount of damage, where if you completed a combo with a certain amount of hits or a certain amount of damage, you would just get a Beast Boost, i.e. a speed boost or an attack boost of some kind. Just like snowballing, because obviously in the case of Pheromosa, it's a glass cannon, so you probably want to have some sort of snowballing effect in order to actually make use of those offenses before you get blown up. Because if this is a glass cannon that just dies in disadvantage, you probably want some sort of offensive gimmick in order to make up for the fact that you're gonna die in one hit. I play Pheromosa Speedster either way. Yeah, I'm not saying Pheromosa's a bad pick because almost all the Ultra Beasts work, but I would personally pick Kartana. I love Kartana. Let me teleport around, except it's just because she's that fast. I would agree. I would think hits because it's a chance, a milestone, not a milestone percent. Yeah, it'd probably be hits. But that would still be cool to implement Beast Boost that way.
Take shape now, including a couple weirder picks. Now, let's talk about something important. Pokken 2 needs new stages to fight on.
Oh yeah, this is a really cool idea he's got.
Has changed in however many years have passed in universe. Tekken loves going all out with stages, and Pokken can follow in its footsteps. There are 3 ways I'd go about it. Several stages from the first game low-key embody certain Pokemon types, so we could try and cover the missing ones. Like a stage set in a deep forest shrouded in fog and mysterious lights, a home field for grass or fairy types. Some existing stages could gain extra phases, like...
This is my favorite part. He says that walls should now be breakable and have, like, new parts of pre-existing stages. I think that would be fine, because that wouldn't, like, necessarily change how wall splats work. You could still, like, you have this really badass transition phase of, like, breaking a wall and going into a new area of the stage, but then you'd still have that opportunity to air tech in or out and then start the field phase. I don't think that would necessarily change how Pokken works, but I would love that if stages got more than one layer but there's still, like, part of, like, Reggie Ruins got, like, a new floor that you could, like, break through and access with a wall splat. That'd be sick.
Into. If a fighter impacts certain walls or floors hard
enough, I would love this. Pokken needs this.
New boundaries and new potential tactics. And we could do more of what the first game did and throw in a few stages directly inspired by Tekken.
Or if they get one of those sliding knockdowns, it would break the floor and then you go down a floor. That would be so cool, dude. I am very against Strive breakable walls in normal fighting games, but this is Pokken, so again, like, how do they work in Strive? Like, what do you not like about them in Strive? Because I feel like in the context of Pokken, it wouldn't really change how shifts work in terms of dual phase to field. It probably would only happen in dual to field shifts. It probably wouldn't happen at all in field to dual. Oh my god, I can't talk. But yeah, I don't think it would necessarily change the mechanics of a phase shift, because then after the whole transition animation, you'd still have the opportunity to air tech in or out, and, well, it might change how the player who caused the shift maybe would have, like, a little less time to align themselves. That'd probably be like a balancing change, but I don't think that would impact the mechanics of the overall phase shifting too much. It restricts combos a lot compared to XRD, but Pokken combos already weren't super extensive and long. Yeah, they purposefully limited a lot. It's capped at 21 hits for most things, and, you know, there are a lot of moves in field to dual phase shifts that just shift by themselves, so combos are not that big usually. They can always raise the cap of how many hits you can do. Doesn't have to be 21 going into Pokken 2. That can change at any point, but I don't know. In terms of just looking at this new mechanic in a vacuum added to what Pokken is right now, I don't think that would change too much. And I would love that. It just adds more visual flair. And just in general, too, they need to work on the stage graphics as a whole. So, because it's really weird, right? Because Pokken stages, the stages themselves are well made, but then they have the shittiest background graphics you've ever seen in a fighting game. Like, it's literally just freaking puppet theater aesthetics. Imagine this freaking water bottle, a still image of this water bottle dangling around on a string. That's literally what the background graphics are in Pokken. They're so bad. It's so stupid how they had him like that, and they never fixed it in DX, so it just looks so bad on Switch. But it's like, yeah, they need to fix that. Have actual background graphics in your stages. The stages were cool, but make actual background graphics. They were so shit.
A caged-in arena. As part of an underground league, the player infiltrates during the story mode.
That Tyrantrum? Yeah, it's literally like, it's not even moving its legs. It like shifts its whole body like this. It's exactly how it moves. It's so eye-catching in the wrong way, and it just looks like this. It's not moving its body, it's just a still image being dangled on a freaking one-way mechanism. It's so terrible.
To a Tekken 3 classic, a high-tech wrestling ring suspended high in the air. Would even double
That'd be
as a
cool. I like that.
type home stage. Hey, you know who'd be a perfect fit for that? What's a flying wrestling ring without a flying wrestler?
If you okay, this is right here. Yeah, this is right here is why he got rid of Libre, because everyone wanted Halucha. I get it. Halucha's cool. Libre, no one cares. But like, Libre in Pokken is cool. She's a completely different fighter than Pikachu. He doesn't say it outright, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just looked at Libre and thought she was a clone of Pikachu and just said, nah, get rid of it. I want Halucha. But I get it. Halucha's cool. I mean, come on. Libre's cool, too. I like Libre.
There's room for another speedy wrestler type. Why not one a lot of fans wanted to see get in last time? A high-flying grappler with unique ways of doing that. Halucha prioritizes speed over strength. The avian luchador swoops down...
What's funny is that he would be more or less just Pika Libre. Because he would totally have the gimmick, because he's like a face wrestler with a mask, he would totally have the gimmick of being cheered on by the crowd, so the high stance would be him getting extra support cheer. He would have like not like an install, but he would have like an enhanced state where his specials get more powerful when he like finishes a combo with them and shifts with them. It would just be Libre, but it's Halucha instead of Pikachu. So, I mean, cool, but I would want to see more unique stuff put into a Pokken 2 rather than just reskinning a character that was already there. I said this to somebody on Twitter. Like, yeah, this Pokemon would be cool, but just throwing in a different Pokemon that takes the entire style of something that was already there, I don't want that. I want unique stuff. The Halucha would literally just be Pikachu Libre. One of my sleeper picks is a Speedster Excelgor. Ooh. Excelgor's a cool bug type. I like Excelgor. I could see that. How would it move, though? Because it kind of, like, shuffles around in the mainline games. How would you make it move? I don't know. But I would be down for Excelgor. Excelgor's cool. It wouldn't be like... It would be an actual speedster. Like, it doesn't do much damage, but it would, like... It'd have status moves. It would be like a speedster debuffer, but actually a debuffer, unlike Weavile, who just, like, gets the best of everything. Excelgor would be like a more specialized debuffer, but it would still be really fun. I like that.
With attacks and command grabs, even mid-air grabs that fling other fighters around despite being smaller than most of them. But with stubby range prone to getting outspaced, it'd take quick thinking.
Yeah, this is literally just Libre.
Makes sense that any wins would feel earned. This is a face wrestler. Galler's punk rock lizard salamander.
Okay. At first, I'm gonna be real. At first, I didn't like Toxtricity as an idea. I'm like, really? Like, this is just because it's the out there Pokemon of Gen 8. Like, why would you want that? But then I thought about it more, and I saw this idea. Tissue. I saw this idea that he posts for it, and I'm like, honestly, I could see it. I can see it, honestly.
Odd type combo of electric and poison. What can we do with that? How about a well-rounded fighter focused on debuffs?
This would be another debuff fight that focuses on poisoning, paralyzing. I'd like this.
Is a mixed attacker competent up close or at range. Wearing opponents down with each hit, certain moves would poison foes for extra damage over time, while others would inflict paralysis that adds a few frames of delay to the start of enemy movement. But
okay. Because here's the thing about that, about paralysis. Pokken frame data is very not like what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's very what was I trying to say? Routine. Like it follows a certain routine for almost every character. You know, there are a lot of 11 frame moves. There are a lot of 15 frame moves. There are a lot of 23 frame moves. So throwing in extra variables to a very rugged frame data system, or a very like not rugged, like I don't know, very sectional frame data system, adding variables onto that a player can control, that would be like, that'd be pretty stupid. I don't know. Like, unless the frame data of Pokken 2 just gets changed up in a big way, I don't know how you would implement that without it being really, really stupid. Like, I don't know, bro.
Is this fighter's sound-based attacks, with a bevy of disjointed guitar-like riffs enhanceable through charge to become bigger and electrical. And of course, the line's G-Max form and signature Max move to really bring the house down.
I like that.
Painting, music, and now
just any Pokemon with a G-Max transformation, that's just the easiest burst attack ever. Just like get its G-Max form, smash them with a giant guitar. That's the easiest winner ever. Like the G-Maxes and the Z moves, they make for ultimate finishers. That's exactly what burst attacks are. So just give them their Z move, give them their G-Max, and then you have an epic burst attack right there. I like that idea. Again, at first I didn't like Toxtricity, but now that I've seen that idea being thrown around by a few different people, I'm down for it. I like it.
Dance? This is an eclectic bunch. The roster's second Paldea starter puts on a dazzling performance as part of a long line of fighting game dancers. With flowing dance moves, power...
Okay, he's definitely looking at this from a fighting game perspective, and I totally respect that. I do. And this is coming from a guy who picked Quaxley in Gen 9. I'm going to be real with you. I do not think this is going to happen, solely because of popularity. Because Quaquaval literally dropped off the face of the earth. As soon as people saw what Quaxley evolved into, like, Quaquaval is bar none the least popular one. And it's not even close. People love the whole Fuecoco line. Meowscarada is just shot to the top of the mountain, and Quaquaval is all the way over there in the gutter. Like, Quaquaval, I don't know, man. Like, Pokken doesn't have to pick popular Pokemon, and they already haven't done that, but in terms of just thinking about popularity, Quaquaval would not be here, bro. Quaquaval would not make it. Again, think of it from a fighting game perspective, having like a dancer, a dancing fighter, that would be sick. But in terms of the Pokemon they would think of to put in this game, I don't think Quaquaval's making that list, bro. I'm gonna be real. Also, hello, Alpha. Thank you for coming by. I've seen a lot, honestly, so you may want to go back and see some stuff. Or again, I'm gonna put this on YouTube later if you want to talk about it there. But yeah, we've already gone through quite a bit. But an Elena-inspired Quaquaval would go insane. Again, from a fighting game perspective, this is awesome. But would the Pokemon Company even remotely think about putting this Pokemon on there in the first place? Because they definitely look at Pokemon from a popularity perspective for the most part, and they definitely would not think of Quaquaval first. They would think of Meowscarada, and while Skeledirge is popular, I don't think they would make that a fighter. So maybe you could consider, like, okay, Meowscarada would fit 100%. Then they look at Skeledirge next, and they probably think, you can't make that a fighter. Then maybe they would look at the other one and think, oh, that'd be cool. But if they just stop at what's not popular, Quaquaval's not on the list. It's not even on the list. It's not even invited.
Powerful kicks and detachable feather-shaped water formations, Quaquaval sports a mix-up heavy fighting style constantly on the move. While mainly a physical attacker, mastery over their element would allow for things like creating echoing rings with water pulse or using a modified water pledge to spawn fountains on the spot. And what self-respecting dancer doesn't have extra flashy optional moves? Certain attacks could be extendable with perfectly timed button presses. These just frame inputs adding extra depth and precision.
I do like that though, because that's like what am I thinking of? That's like DJ in Street Fighter. Like DJ has like some of those, like that one special that you have to, in order to get the most damage out of it, you have to do it in rhythm to the beat. That would be cool. Like if Quaquaval had things like that, where it had like a little musical theme that you had to follow along, and then the just frames were like perfectly timed to the rhythm. That'd be pretty cool. I'd like that.
To this fighter's stylishness. Hey, a new pseudo legendary.
Okay, do you remember? Oh, do I remember? I mean, let's just go over like super quick. There was Greninja, there was Absol, there was Heracross, there was Dewott, there's a little stopgap there. There was Cinderace, there was Meowscarada, there was Lycanroc, there was Mean Xiao, Goated Pick, though he made it broken. Tinkaton, Smeargle, Pheromosa, and then he stopped again. Hawlucha, then Toxtricity, and then we had Quackball. Yeah, Mean Xiao too. You were here for Mean Xiao, weren't you, Blake? But they made Mean Xiao broken specifically because what did he say here? He said
them to create openings.
Said something. He said about Regenerator.
Impressively lengthy combos.
So it makes sense, right?
Mean Xiao's Regenerator ability to let you heal extra upon forcing a phase shift, even if you didn't have any regular recoverable health.
That would not be allowed. That would literally not be allowed. You cannot do that with Regenerator in Pokken. That would not be allowed. We didn't talk too much about Greninja and Absol, but those are the first two. He relied on pretty popular picks. Lengthy combos, I need it. Yeah, I would love Mean Xiao, dude. Honestly, I wouldn't main any of these new characters because I would still be the Scizor guy. But, you know, if Scizor were to be cut, then I would have to find a new character. But we have another one coming up that I'll show you later. But, yeah, where we at? We're at Como-O. Como-O, okay. I would love Como-O, but the way this is another one of those ideas where if you put it into Pokken terms, sounds busted. Let's listen to this.
To build off of, sporting a mainline move pool featuring an unusually high number of moves that raise the user's stats, Como-O would constantly be applying buffs, like Dragon Dance for a temporary speed boost, Power Up Punch as a special that gets stronger every time it connects, and their signature Z move as a burst attack that deals damage and buffs all of their stats at once.
Here's the thing.
What are you doing?
Here's the thing about that. Buffs in Pokken are stupid, and characters that can self-buff themselves, aside from Krogunk, are instantly top tier. Aegislash only... Okay, no, that's a lie. He deals with both attack and speed, but he can only get the speed off a grab. But Como-O having, like, multiple moves to buff himself and being a heavy hitter, and we're not even done. He didn't get into, like, the main gimmick of him. I don't know, dude. Like, being able to buff yourself with that many different moves, that would be ridiculous. But let's listen to the rest.
Then add the ability Bulletproof to provide innate super armor against weaker projectiles to make...
You cannot do all that. You cannot give him all of these buffs. Like, all these ways to buff himself, and then give him what I assume he's talking about, like CA or red armor against projectiles. You can't do that. Like, because speed boosts in Pokken are stupid. So even if he's slow, he doesn't matter. Because if he got a speed boost he can give himself, he would just be a big heavy hitter that can close the gap. And he wouldn't have that weakness. I don't think he realizes how powerful buffs are in Pokken. Because this would be absolutely stupid. Good thing I'm Scizor, because I can steal all this shit for myself. But, like, if you're not Scizor or Krogunk, you would be shit out of luck, bro.
And the move
Rewind that a bit.
Projectiles to make Como-O a big body zone breaker, and the move Clanging Scales to work as a fast defensive pressure breaker. That makes you lose Bulletproof for the rest of the round.
That is a unique way of, like, adding a drawback to a powerful move, but it still doesn't matter because he would just buff himself. And, like, if he didn't say the only thing that could buff his defense was his burst attack, so there's that. But even so, assuming he would get something like bulk up, which he would want to buff his stats, you can't do all this. You cannot give Como-O this many ways to buff himself and give him really powerful moves, really powerful zone breaking options, and then his only weakness is he gets to lose his innate armor for using his powerful moves. Fine, that's a cool weakness to have, but you can't buff yourself this much and not be broken in Pokken. Because AG Slash, the reason why AG Slash snowballs so hard is that he buffs himself. The reason why Libre is still top tier is that she buffs herself. You can't do that. Can't do that. We got a dedicated install character though. Isn't that just Darkrai? BDR is an install, isn't it? Gengar is basically an install too, because it's a completely different character. Okay, so he doesn't mention this here. Hold on a minute. Here's my idea of an install that's not in Pokken yet. So one of the most popular ones that I think would be cool is Tapu Koko. Now hear me out. Tapu Koko would be a speedster. A speedster install. What if the install worked similar to BDR, where upon certain kinds of phase shifts, the entire field would become electric terrain, and then Tapu Koko would then gain a whole new layer to his kit. More moves, more moves, better frame data, more damage, more speed. Like, electric terrain would just, like, buff him in nearly every aspect. Where, now, the thing with Tapu Koko would be, his field phase would be way worse than Darkrai. Because Tapu Koko would be like a more melee or mid-range character. It couldn't zone you out in field phase like Darkrai can. But the install would matter more then, because if you get the install, Tapu Koko becomes absolutely ridiculous. It would just be pressure upon pressure, damage upon damage, mid-range zoning, just like, I don't know. Tapu Koko would be a more risky, but more hard-hitting install compared to Darkrai, but with a worse field phase to compensate. But I would love to see that. Yeah, just crazy mobility. Because Tapu Koko would definitely be a speed character. And an extra jump? The only thing that's given extra jumps is Poplio. So that'd be interesting if new things gave double jumps.
Unusual heavy whose strengths are constantly changing.
This is broken. Like, you can't put Como in like this. I'm just saying that.
How about that round of newcomers? Yet there's still more left to reveal. But first, some other Mons playing a backup role. Support Pokemon were a major mechanic in the first game. Pairs of non-playable characters you could call in to assist once their meter was filled. Not only would Pokken 2 keep them, there'd definitely be some new pairs.
I agree.
Just a few examples of what combinations we could see. Grookey would advance forward while using Branch Poke to attack in rhythm, paired with Croconaw, who leaps forward and attempts to bite your opponent, stunning them for a moment.
Okay, this idea is kind of mid. More than just mid, honestly. But, like, he has better ideas past this. But this is literally just Farfetch'd paired with Litten. This is literally just Farfetch'd and Litten. Advancing forward, hitting with a stick in a rhythm, that's just Farfetch'd. Croconaw lunging forward to bite, that is literally just a worse Litten. Because Litten had a scaling factor based on HP. He doesn't say anything about that here. So, yeah, this is just a worse Litten paired with Farfetch'd. Okay. But the next ideas he has are way better.
Sableye uses Shadow Sneak to ambush your foe from behind, paired with Golisopod, who strikes quickly with First Impression and buffs specifically your backward movement.
I really, really like this. I really, really like this. Because it's completely different mechanics that kind of sort of are the same still, if you know what I mean. Because, so here's what I'm saying. Here's what I think that this is. This sounds like just, imagine Darkrai's charged 8Y, where he reels you in with the big hands. This is just a miniature version of that. That's what Shadow Sneak is. And then, could be for both close quarters characters and mid-range characters, that like to keep their zoning in the mid-range. You just reel them in a little bit if being at full screen is not optimal to you, and just continue to pressure them. It's just a simple but very effective, I feel. Something, because Darkrai's charged 8Y is such a unique move. Making that a support that anyone can access, I don't know, I just feel like that definitely expands upon the kinds of close quarters pressure and even zoners I feel like could use that, because there are some zoners that just don't like you being at full screen because it gives you time to react to their stuff. But if you reel them in just a tad, you can either use that Sableye, just add on top of the shield pressure with your big projectiles, or put them in a better sweet spot for your projectiles that are a bit faster. You know what I mean? We're talking about assists now, because he brought up support Pokemon, so we're talking about support Pokemon now. And now Golisopod. Hold on a minute. Now, I have a very direct and personal bias against this Pokemon. I do not like him. But, as a support, this makes sense. And buffing the backward movement specifically, I have like a little bit of sinus back there. But, yeah, first impression, having just a little jab, not focused on the attack, but buffing backward movement, that is a very interesting buff. Ballman, thank you for the bits. I appreciate it. But I do like this idea because it gives supports a means to escape. I don't know if this would have like invincibility or whatnot. It doesn't say that. But for zoners that need a get off me option and then just continue walking back while using projectiles, I like that idea a lot. I really do. Not much else to say about it, but this is a cool pair. I like this.
And buffs specifically your backward movement. Ninetales gets a new partner in Alolan Ninetales, who casts an Aurora Veil that provides you with armor against all weaker attacks for only a few seconds, because the veil falls apart quickly when it isn't actively snowing. And for a legendary pair, Tapu Lele creates a...
I don't think he realizes what Ninetales already is, because Ninetales is already just a defensive wall. I think he saw Will-O-Wisp and thought it was more so a debuff. Well, it is, but the main point of Ninetales in Pokken is to be a wall that most characters can't get around. So, I don't know, just pairing that with an Alolan Ninetales that's also a defensive measure just seems kind of redundant. I feel like he just saw that Ninetales has Will-O-Wisp and thought it was a more offensively orientated debuff Pokemon rather than being like a defensive shield mechanism, because Ninetales has Frame 1 invincibility, puts a shield in front of you, and just as a means to stall out the match or keep someone from going in while you zone them if you're a zoner or something. I don't know. I feel like he just didn't understand what Ninetales was, because that's a very redundant pair. I like the idea of Alolan Ninetales, but that would be on a different pair, not together. If Ninetales were to remain the same, that is.
Shockwave of nature's madness that damages grounded foes proportional to their current HP, paired with Zamazenta, who uses Metal Burst to tank an enemy hit and retaliate. The stronger the attack blocked, the bigger and harder hitting the counter. Like in Pokken DX, this pair could only be summoned once per round.
So, I get the idea, nothing's wrong with the idea here, but like, how would that work? How would nature's madness deal, because it wouldn't just say, oh, by the way, half your health bar's gone. That would not happen. That would not happen at all. But would it be like a 4? Would it be like a 6? Like, what would be the defining factor of nature's madness here? I don't know how that would be fairly balanced in the context of Pokken. I would certainly love to see it, but I don't know. I don't know how you would properly balance that. Excuse me. Zamazenta makes sense. It's just a legendary it's a legendary electrode that has like scaling to the damage. So if you, depending on the damage of the hit you absorb, you just come back with something even bigger. That makes sense for a legendary pair. Although for something that could be called once per round, assuming it's like electrode, that'd be a huge gamble, because it would have to be even faster than Electrode, because even with Electrode being pretty fast already, it's a very niche support right now in Pokken, and it always has been. So, and it was even worse in Wii U, because the speed at which it went to the opponent to explode was so much slower. It was sped up much harder in DX, but even then, it still wasn't that good. So, I don't know. It's definitely worth it for that damage multiplier, but I don't know how many people would want to risk that.
But if Zamazenta's here, then where is... Oh. A new legendary has graced the battlefield.
This would be, okay, in terms of quadrupeds that have the easiest shoe-in chance of making it in, I could definitely see Zamazenta being like one of the first announcements, because Zamazenta has kind of just inserted herself as one of the more popular legendaries right now. I don't know if this is like a more so prolonged phase of new toy syndrome still kind of being applied to her because she's still new, but I don't know. Zamazenta still, even so to this day, is a very, very popular Pokemon in general and would definitely be one of the first ones to make it in.
Species-wise, this ancient hero reawakens.
Zamazenta? No, Zacian is the sword and Zamazenta is the shield. But Zacian would definitely be the fighter. Would be the fighter, not the support.
Is a natural.
It would totally make sense for Zamazenta to get shafted yet again, to being a sideline Pokemon, and then Zacian got all the spotlight, because that's literally how it's been since their release. Since they were revealed, Zacian has always been the more popular pick in terms of competition, in terms of design, in terms of literally everything. Zacian is the superior one.
Most unique heavy yet, and that's saying something. Despite having the highest possible base HP, Zacian's incredible offensive stats lend to a fast, combo-centric style with finely honed, disjointed strikes that shouldn't be possible by what amounts to a direwolf wielding a sword, boasting some of the best mobility and damage output in the game. But to keep her from breaking yet another metagame, this fighter has unexpected drawbacks. Too honorable to rely on cheesy comebacks, not only would Zacian's burst attack be among the weakest, she'd completely lack the rage damage boost other fighters get at low health. To win.
I like that, honestly. I like that idea. This is basically another Mewtwo. Because Mewtwo and Pokken, the whole shtick is, it's incredibly powerful overall. Like, its overall kit is really, really good. But its burst meter is super big, and it drains meter with its specials. That's the side effect of being just an overall good character right out of the box. I like this with Zacian because he goes a step further by saying, hey, let's give her even more health. She's a sword fighter, so she's going to have hella disjoints, and she's going to have damage and speed. However, she can't get rage. And he says, like, her burst attack would be bad. I don't think it would do that. I think she would have an even bigger burst meter, though. Her meter would be the biggest in the game. She would not get rage multipliers, but she would have incredibly high health and just overall an incredible kit. Would that still be too broken? That is the question. But I like that potential drawback. She would not have rage multipliers, and her meter, I would assume, would be even bigger than Mewtwo. So, well, now here's the problem with that, though. Even if you made Zamazenta's meter bigger than Mewtwo, it doesn't sound like he says that she should drain her meter with her specials. If she doesn't get to drain her meter with her specials, even if it's bigger than Mewtwo, she could probably still get that once a game consistently. Or maybe even have like a way to build that up in a round. If she had a support that focused on synergy building and had a cheer skill that focused on synergy building. So, depends on how high they made it, but I don't know. That still has the potential to be absolutely stupid. I'll let you know right now. But it's a very interesting drawback to have. You would not get rage multipliers, but your kit is just overall incredible, and you have a lot of health. So, I don't know. They probably implement more drawbacks than that, but I like the idea.
This one, you can't rely on a last-second clutch finish. We're a bit short on power style, newcomers.
All right, here we go. Here we go. I gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it. Before he even starts yapping on about it, I gotta say. So, I'm sure, especially with the environment of the Pokken community right now, people would be raising the roof and preaching to the heavens if Scizor got kicked out of the roster, because that's what he says here, that Scizor would not be in the roster. You know what's funny too? Before we even get into this, I find it funny because he makes mention of Scizor here as well. He had two different characters that were like in a compensation for Scizor not being here. Scizor was that powerful. Like, he knew when he kicked out Scizor, he's like, oh shit, Scizor's kind of popular. We gotta make 2 separate characters split off from him just for that one compensation. Because Scizor was that powerful, you gotta make an evolutionary replacement as well as a Gen 2 bug replacement just to make up for the fact that he got rid of Scizor. But I'm gonna say right now, if this does happen and they can Scizor, but they replace it with Kleavor, I would not be mad. I would just be the next Kleavor main. I would withhold my title of being the Bug King, just not with Scizor. Scizor would still be my favorite, but I would not be mad at this outcome. Whether it be for Kleavor or Scyther too. Like, if Scyther got in, or Kleavor, in exchange for Scizor, I would not be that mad. I would still be I would still hurt a little bit, right down in here, but I would not be mad. And because of Kleavor still being a power, and the idea he brought for him is cool too, but I would not be mad at this.
To fix that, while Scizor is riding the bench, a counterpart from Old Sinnoh can carry the torch, while fitting a regional variant onto the roster. An antiquated evolution with rock-splitting strength, Kleavor's twin axes aren't just for show. With powerful attacks covering wide arcs, this fighter can lay on the pressure, can even use that part rock typing in unique ways, like pulling a stone pillar out of the ground and slicing it apart to create wide-reaching splinters, or raise...
That's just Empoleon. That's just Empoleon Rock Smash.
A pillar behind your opponent, cutting off their ability to retreat. Add in...
I like that better. So, you basically, it is a pressure character that is able to box you in and just be like, you cannot move from this space. You're brawling with me, or you die. That would be cool. I like that.
A few variants of Scizor's moves, like the stackable Swords Dance.
Kleavor with Scizor Swords Dance. If we're talking about Swords Dance as we know it today, that's a big part of the no-no list that people have on Scizor right now. So giving Kleavor, so he's making it sound like Kleavor would do even more damage than Scizor. And he said, yo, let's give Scizor Swords Dance to that. You give Kleavor the Swords Dance stock system with what you're talking about here, I'd get that band too. I'm gonna be real with you, bro. I would get that band too, because Scizor's Swords Dance is one of the biggest no-nos of the Pokken community right now. Die in 2024, reborn in 2026. Welcome back, Scizor. I'd get this one band too. I'm gonna be real, because Kleavor having just these huge arcing hits that can anti-air, box you in with giant rocks, and have like something like Stone Axe where you wouldn't even need like the rock smash setup like Empoleon needs. You would just split a whole bunch of splinters. So you basically have like miniature projectiles on your attacks, because like rocks would come off your axe, and all of your hits would have like these weird little disjoints at the end of them where they wouldn't do that much damage, but it would prevent like it would prevent usual ways of whiff punishing, because it had like this weird active hitbox that stays out there for a bit more. So you couldn't just like whiff punish all of these big axe attacks the way you usually do, because that's what Stone Axe does. It leaves splinters behind. So that would be such a cool concept for a big, heavy-hitting power character. And then you give him the Swords Dance stock system. I don't know, bro. That already sounds like a lot. I would not be mad at this outcome. I'm gonna say it right now. If Scizor got replaced, but he's like, I bless you, brother, with my Swords Dance stock system. Go commit a crime. I would love that so much. I would still be the Bug King. Nothing would change about that front. I would still be the Bug King. It's just Scizor would have to take a seat. But I guarantee you, even if they did cut Scizor, he'd come back in like DLC or something. But again, it's still weird that he cut all the DX editions. I don't get why he did in this video. But I don't know. I would like this outcome. The One Piece screenshot of Ace pushing Luffy towards his straw hat is just like it like All Might Scizor pointing his claw and Kleavor going, now It's your turn. I would love that, dude. That'd be so cool. I'm already like making the timeline. Even I have ways of winning. Even if Scizor is actually leaving the roster, I would still win at the end of the day if this is the outcome we get.
An ancient warrior. What's this one doing here?
So this is like his quote-unquote joke character edition, but I like this. You're gonna see here in a minute, but I like this. I like this edition.
Might come off weird, but there's an angle here with how out of place this neat freak chinchilla truly is. Meet our joke character, but not really, who gets dragged into the plot with their trainer against their wishes. And the moveset fits someone unaccustomed to battling. Frantic movement, attacks that desperately flail at opponents, and projectiles like seeds, pebbles, and swift stars thrown recklessly. A lot of multi-hit moves, basically. But this Chinchino has some under-the-radar strengths. The line's technician and skill link abilities.
This is one of his biggest, boons for his argument that abilities should be in Pokken, because this makes total sense. Having Chinchino be based around all those multi-hit moves that it gets, you'd have to implement the abilities, like technician and skill link. So, I really like this, honestly. Having Chinchino be the character that focuses on a whole bunch of little multi-hit, like mid-range zoning moves that end up like maybe it'd be like a thing, like it wouldn't be just like a power multiplier, but I'm trying to think. What if it was something like the farther it went, the more damage it dealt? Something like that. Where like the ability wouldn't be pound for pound what it is in the mainline games, but it would be implemented in some fashion. I feel like this would be a cool way of doing it. I like joke characters anyways. Yeah, I think this is cool, but this isn't even the best part.
Mean those multi-hits are surprisingly effective, and with Tidy Up to quickly remove debuffs and status ailments at will, and a move that plucks traps and hazards out of the ground and throws them away, this fighter forces opponents to play a clean game too.
I literally just thought of this as I was hearing that again for like the second time. That is literally, imagine having a move. Like, it wouldn't be like pound for pound, but imagine you had a move that was just Pachi. Pachi from Pokken, where it just said, no. All your field-face traps? No. You don't get to do that. Debuffs? No. Traps? No. You don't get to do that. You have to either brawl with me or stay over there and then get hit by all my multi-hits. That is a cool concept. Just having this easy access to remove traps says that it's a very, like, it fits that new tricky class where you get to control how your opponent plays the game. It's a very control heavy character that just says you don't get to do like tricky bullshit on me. I'm the only one that gets to do tricky bullshit. So I get to shoot all these little projectiles in whatever angles or whatever ways that I want, and then I get to say no to your debuffs and no to your traps. I really like that concept. And I already kind of like Chinchino and Minchino anyways, so whether it be Minchino or Cinchino, I would like this a lot.
That's almost everyone accounted for. Who goes in those last two slots sitting there ominously? Well, to explain that... So, the first Pokken story mode was bare bones. Mostly
yes, it was.
Grinding through tournaments with occasional dialogue. There was something there, but it wasn't utilized well. How could a sequel do better? How about a plot centered around a new form of energy infecting the Farum region? Appearing as strange orange or purple auras, this energy drives affected Pokemon insane and turns them violent, even altering their...
Okay, so, I mean, this kind of already happened with the synergy energy, if you will, of Pokken 1. They just need to explain it better. Like, the lore of Pokken is fine. It doesn't need to be, Tekken level lore going into the second game, but it just needs to be explained better because it just was not explained well in the first game. And this already kind of is what happened in Pokken 1. So just keep the Shadow Pokemon bit, but actually dive into why this is happening instead of just saying this exists, this is what happens when a Pokemon interacts with it. The end. You gotta stop it, by the way. You just gotta put more effort into explaining the story. There's nothing wrong with the lore of it, because spin-offs don't have to have that deep-ass lore. You just gotta actually put effort into explaining it. Obviously, more voice acting. Just put more effort into it.
Coloration to
That's
highlight
really
their
it.
state of corruption. The player character, given a full customizable 3D trainer model and a selection of voice actors to pick from this time, is pulled into the conflict.
Yo, give me another trying to say customizable voice actor of Yuri Lowenthal. Give me Yuri Lowenthal as one of the avatar options, and I'd be sold. I would definitely take Yuri Lowenthal's voice, just like Xenoblade X. I'd take Yuri Lowenthal's option any day of the week.
Pokemon barely survives a fight with a corrupted one. This leads to them working alongside returning characters Nia and Anne to uncover where this new threat is coming from. Eventually,
Nia would return, but Anne would show up. Anne literally did nothing. Anne would not come back.
Timelines, spurred on by a new character from one of those timelines who fell into this one. They want to get back home through any means necessary, and they don't care if this timeline is destroyed in the process, leading to a final confrontation where they sick 2 more unlockable fighters on you. Hailing from an alternate past, or something like that, it's complicated, the beast known only as Roaring Moon might look like a mashup of Mega Salamence, Bird, and Supervillain, but do not take it lightly. Hovering ominously in midair, the living paradox is a deadly force in battle. This primordial, savage creature bears down on foes relentlessly with hard-hitting attacks, gap closers, and burst options for days.
I wonder how this would work, because there are Pokemon that like perpetually levitate like that, but how would they scale Roaring Moon though? I don't doubt that it could work, but I don't know. Salamence is just a weird one, especially this form of Salamence. Roaring Moon?
What few utility moves there are, Roost to temporarily land, Feather Dance to scatter projectiles, are...
Okay, so he makes it a very clear point that Salamence would... Oh, no, I keep saying Salamence. Roaring Moon would always be in the air. I'm wondering, like, so does that mean, like, he could just be randomly poked by, like, easy anti-airs? Because characters like... What am I trying to think of? Like Gardevoir 8Y can just say, oh, in neutral, I can just throw out my 8Y and hit you from mid-screen because you're technically in the air, and you, like, I can just snipe you out of the air whenever I want. Like, how would Roost work? Would it be able to land for more than a few seconds, or what would happen here? I don't know how this would work in the context of Pokken. I'm interested, but I'm confused because of how this Pokemon is scaled and how its body shape is. I don't know per se how this would work right off the top of my head.
Means to an end of getting up close and eviscerating all opposition. But that primal Unga Bunga mindset is also a weakness. This moveset is lacking in mix-ups. Even a skilled Roaring Moon would have a linear neutral and a very obvious game plan, making them predictable to a fault if not played expertly. Roaring Moon's...
Well, there's always going to be the strike-throw mix-up, and if Roaring Moon is as powerful as he claims, just like, you get a knockdown, you get a strike-throw mix-up, if it's that powerful, you're still going to be good.
Counterpart is a living paradox from one potential future...
This one makes too much sense, though. In particular, Iron Valiant, like, come on. Iron Valiant has every single making of a fighting game character. A stance character who could use either the dual blades or like mesh them together for a staff. It would be the easiest stance character you could ever imagine. And then it's got every single like element under the sun. It can learn all kinds of special and physical moves. It's got the most expansive kit out of any like boss character you could ever think of. This would be the easiest Gen 9 shoe-in ever. There's no need to explain this at all.
Instead, in this robotic replica of Gardevoir and Gallade couldn't be more opposite. A cold,
The thing that sucks though is that it's a red pill or a blue pill. Do you want Gallade or do you want Iron Valiant? Because there would be no way in hell they'd do both. It would be one or the other. And I know Gallade, there are some Gallade fans out there that very particularly do not want Iron Valiant over Gallade. So, I don't know, man. It would definitely be one or the other. But are you Team Iron Valiant or are you Team Gallade? Me personally, I absolutely love all of the future Pokemon, and I love Iron Valiant. I would love Iron Valiant to be the one in, but I understand that Gallade would definitely have a more lean into like a psychic type fighter, but I don't know, man. I just love Iron Valiant. I would definitely be on Team Iron Valiant over Gallade. I'm sorry.
Machine, Iron Valiant may be powerful, but its greatest strength is its versatility. With an impressive array of techniques and projectiles,
He's got so many options for moves. So many.
Into a two-sided sword, this entity is a technological force of destruction with answers for nearly everything. But all that firepower covers up a glaring design flaw. Unable to truly improvise or create its own ideas, Iron Valiant's advantage state is unexpectedly limited, and its combos are shockingly short. Winning with this fight...
I feel like these two statements contradict each other. Like, if you make a point to say that he's got absolutely every option under the sun that you want, how would that result in no combos? That doesn't make sense to me. Save me stance character. Yeah, Iron Valiant would be the easiest stance character implementation. But how does that make sense? Like, how do you have your gimmick is that you have a whole bunch of tools, but you can't combo with them? I don't get that. I feel like the weakness of Iron Valiant would probably be damage output. I mean, yeah, you could probably implement... Okay, well, how do I do this? Because if we are to implement abilities, you would definitely implement Quark Drive, and Quark Drive is essentially just a damage booster or a speed booster. But, what would the weakness be? Like, if you have that many tools, and you are a stance character with different ranges of fighting styles, so you have range disjoints with the staff, or close quarters combat with the dual blades, what weakness do you have? Maybe mobility? Maybe its mobility is basic? Maybe it has to... Okay, so maybe it has to rely... Maybe Quark Drive would be a speed booster, but without Quark Drive, your mobility is very limited. So you have to rely on, like, swinging around a bunch. You have to get that first hit in. And sometimes it can kind of look like you're swatting around aimlessly because you're trying to predict a move and whiff punish it. Maybe that would be the thing. Is that if you don't have whatever the condition is for Quark Drive activated, your speed and your movement would be hella basic, and you'd have to, like, fish for hits in order to get those combos going. Because I feel like Iron Valiant would have plenty of combos, especially for a stance character. But you have to just get into those sweet spots first. Your mobility would probably be just very basic. That would be my guess at a weakness. Because having all these tools and not being able to combo with them just feels incredibly contradictory for a fighting game perspective.
Fighter requires winning neutral more times than anyone else. Hopefully the arsenal at your mechanical fingertips is enough to do so. There we are, a roster for a Pokken tournament sequel, comprised
Did he say anything
of 35
more?
characters from all across Pokemon's history.
No, he really didn't. But that's the video. We got 2 hours out of that video. This is a half-hour video, and we got 2 hours out of it. That's sick. I'm glad I was able to keep that conversation going for a little bit. But, yeah, I think I'm just glad we have more videos like this to talk about. I just want to talk about it and keep the conversation going as a Pokken player, and just say, for one, thanks to this guy for keeping the conversation going, because it's nice to have these things to talk about. But I may not agree with everything this guy says, but I completely respect this guy for just, one, respecting the game as it is, and not just saying it needs to be totally changed up, and then here are my favorite Pokemon. Here's what I want. But no, he respects the game. He, for the most part, takes Pokken's mechanics into consideration with his choices. He was very well thought out. This video is really good. I'd say this guy is a really good watch. And I watched some of his Smash videos too. He does a really good job. He's based on theory crafting. He does a lot of theory crafting stuff. So this is a good video. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this. I'm actually gonna take a break. At first I was thinking I was gonna do some stuff after the video, but I'm gonna take a break because we're going to come back in a few hours because we have a monthly to do. But the monthly that goes on right now, this DevCord monthly, they do it super late at night. So that's going to take a while. Assuming that a good amount of people sign up for it, that's going to be like a 2.5 hours again. And that's super late at night. So I'm probably going to just take a break, go eat, and then in like an hour and a half or so, or maybe a little earlier, I'll come back and stream again. and we're gonna stream the monthly here. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to get this one done. Thank you all for watching this one. Let's see if we can rate anybody. Let me look. Nah, nobody's on right now. But yeah, just letting you guys know that we will be back here in a little bit for a monthly, and we'll see how we do then. And if, depending on how fast it goes, we'll have something else planned. But that was the reaction to the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in a little bit for Pokken's next monthly.